Right now, in 2026, more than 14,000 stores are closing across America. Not over a decade, this year. Joanne. Party City. Rite Aid, closing for the second time in 19 months. Forever 21. Big Lots. Claire's. The Container Store is staring down a debt deadline it might not survive. You've heard the reason people keep repeating: Amazon killed it. But if that were the whole story, why is TJ Maxx opening more stores than ever, in the exact same malls where everyone else is dying? Why are Walmart, Costco, and BJ's Wholesale posting some of the strongest numbers in their history, right now, in the same economy that's killing everyone else? Something else is happening here, and it's not really about shopping at all. Stick with me, because by the end of this, the picture looks nothing like the story you've been told. Let's start with the scale of this, because the number is almost hard to process. Analysts at CoreSite project close to 7,900 store closures by the end of 2026 alone. Business Insider's tracker puts the broader number, closures announced or expected, above 14,000. The mall vacancy rate nationally sat at 8.8% at the start of this year, more than double the overall retail vacancy rate. In the lowest-tier malls, the ones without much foot traffic to begin with, vacancy is already above 13%. There were roughly 1,500 large enclosed malls in America at the historical peak. Today there are around 700 left. Some analysts project we'll lose another quarter of those in the next 5 years. Some projects could be down to as few as 200 malls by 2035. And this year has a specific new ingredient nobody was dealing with a few years ago: tariffs. When Claire's filed for bankruptcy in August 2025, its own court filings cited $30 million in tariff-driven cost increases in a single year as one of the primary triggers, right alongside declining mall traffic and new competitors. This isn't a slow bleed from a decade ago. Its current supply chain and trade pressure hit stores that were already thin on margin. But here's the twist almost nobody's talking about: total retail spending in America isn't collapsing. The money didn't disappear. It's concentrating, hard, in a small number of winners, while everyone else gets squeezed out. And to actually understand this collapse, you need to look at exactly who's winning, because the pattern is almost too clean to be a coincidence. While Claire's, Joanne, and Forever 21 were filing for bankruptcy, Walmart posted first-quarter revenue of $177.8 billion, up 7.3% year-over-year. Comparable U.S. sales rose over 4%, driven by higher customer traffic, not just higher prices. Global e-commerce sales jumped 26%. And here's the number that really tells the story: Walmart's global membership fee revenue. Walmart Plus and Sam's Club combined grew over 17% in a single quarter. Walmart's own CFO said advertising and memberships now make up roughly a third of the company's total earnings, calling it very different from Walmart of 10 years ago. Walmart isn't really a grocery store anymore. It's becoming a subscription business that happens to sell groceries. Membership fee income jumped 10.7% year-over-year in one recent quarter, hitting $1.37 billion, just from membership fees, before a single item is scanned at checkout. Costco now has close to 83 million paid members worldwide. And the growth isn't coming from casual members, it's coming from people upgrading to the executive tier, which grew nearly 10%, almost triple the rate of regular membership growth. Executive members now account for 75% of all of Costco's sales. On a recent earnings call, Costco executives were actually grilled about a problem most retailers would kill for: overcrowded stores and jammed parking lots. Then there's BJ's Wholesale, the smaller player most people forget about, which just expanded into Texas, its 22nd state. In its first 4 Dallas-Fort Worth clubs, membership sign-ups came in 33% ahead of plan, pulling in roughly 100,000 new members in that region alone. BJ's has grown its membership income every single year for more than 25 years straight. It's now opening 25 to 30 new clubs over the next 2 fiscal years. Sam's Club, Walmart's membership arm, is opening 15 new clubs a year and renovating its existing 600. And notably, the fastest growing customer segment for these warehouse clubs isn't retirees stocking up on bulk toilet paper, it's Gen Z and millennials, who now make up half of Sam's Club's membership growth. Costco's own data shows nearly half of its new members each year are under 40. So look at what's actually happening. It's not that Americans stopped spending money in physical stores. It's that they consolidated around a small number of places that offer either rock-bottom prices, membership tier loyalty, or both, and they abandoned the mid-tier mall retailers stuck in between, with nothing distinctive enough to justify the trip. TJ Maxx, Marshalls, and HomeGoods are thriving using the exact same logic, value-driven, no frills, and increasingly moving directly into the empty storefronts left behind by the brands that just failed. This isn't really a story about online shopping killing physical retail. Walmart's own physical store traffic is growing. This is a story about the middle of the retail market getting hollowed out, while the extreme value end and the membership end both get stronger. Here's a question worth sitting with. How does one department store closing take down 99 other stores in the same building? It comes down to the anchor, Macy's, JCPenney, Dillard's. Their real job was never really what they sold. It was pulling people through the doors. You go to Macy's for one thing, and on the walk in and out, you pass a dozen smaller shops you weren't planning to visit. That's the traffic every small retailer in the mall was quietly depending on. You can watch this playing out in California right now. Macy's confirmed in early 2026 that it's closing its locations at West Valley Mall in Tracy and Grossmont Center in La Mesa, as part of what the company is calling its bold new chapter strategy. Once an anchor like that leaves, smaller tenants often have contract clauses letting them cut their own rent or walk away entirely, because their leases were priced assuming that anchor foot traffic would keep flowing past their door. No anchor, no traffic. No traffic, no reason to stay. One closure becomes 5. 5 becomes 20. That's exactly the mechanism playing out across malls nationwide this year. Not a single event, but a chain reaction, store by store, corridor by corridor. So if Americans are still spending, and the warehouse clubs are booming, where does everyone else fit in? Increasingly, spending is going toward things that can't be delivered in a box: restaurants, travel, live events, fitness, subscriptions, and, as we just saw, membership itself. Experiences and loyalty over one-off purchases. There's also a generational split underneath all of this. Recent retail data shows shoppers aged 18 to 24 still do the majority of their general merchandise buying in physical stores, 62% of it, while shoppers 25 and older have shifted much more toward buying in person less overall. Younger consumers aren't necessarily anti-mall or anti-physical store. They're anti-boring store. They're choosing Costco's crowded aisles and TikTok viral bulk hauls over a struggling mid-tier apparel chain with nothing to offer beyond a rack of clothes nobody's excited about. It's not that physical retail lost its appeal. It's that only the retailers offering something genuinely worth the trip, value, community, or both, are the ones people still show up for. Here's where it gets genuinely interesting, because these dying buildings aren't just sitting empty. They're being repurposed at a scale most people have no idea is happening. As of 2024, at least 192 shopping malls across the country had plans in motion to convert space into apartments, according to real estate firm Raylogic. In Rochester, New York, a nonprofit converted an empty Sears into Skyview Park apartments, 157 units for adults 55 and older, half of them reserved specifically for people at risk of homelessness. In Austin, Highland Mall became a full Austin Community College campus with over 600 computer stations and 200,000 square feet of instructional space. In Nashville, a former mall became an 880,000 square foot Vanderbilt Medical Center. Right now there are 211 enclosed malls across the country in some stage of being retrofitted into something else entirely: housing, hospitals, schools, churches. And Barnes & Noble, a bookstore plenty of people had already written off, has quietly become one of the most in-demand tenants in American retail real estate. In several malls, its foot traffic now beats the department stores next to it. People show up, let their kids wander the shelves, sit in the cafe far longer than planned. As one developer put it, the mall that survives in 2026 isn't trying to beat Amazon on price anymore. That fight is over. It's competing with the couch, and increasingly it's competing with Costco's parking lot. If it gives people an actual reason to leave the house, the foot traffic follows, and everything else follows the foot traffic. So strip away the store names, the earnings calls, and the bankruptcy filings. What's actually disappearing here? Not the stores themselves. What's disappearing is one of the only places left in a lot of American towns where you could show up with no plan and just be around other people. Researchers call these spaces third places, not home, not work, somewhere people gather without needing a reason. And here's the detail that matters most in 2026. The malls closing hardest aren't spread evenly across the country. They're concentrated in mid-sized cities and aging suburbs where incomes have stagnated for years. Places where the mall wasn't one of several gathering spots. It was the only one. No walkable downtown, no funded park system, no community center. Just the mall. And when it closes, in a lot of these towns, what replaces it isn't a better version of a gathering space. It's nothing. Even the winners, in this story, reflect that shift. Costco's crowded parking lots and packed aisles are, in a strange way, becoming one of the closest things some communities now have to a shared public space, not because Costco set out to be one, but because it's one of the only places left that still gives people a reason to physically show up. This isn't really a story about retail. It's a story about what happens when a country builds its public gathering spaces almost entirely around whether they turn a profit, with no civic budget, no institutional mandate, nothing keeping them alive except quarterly earnings. When the earnings stop, the space goes dark, and there was never a backup plan. Some of what's rising out of these dead malls, the housing conversions, the community colleges, the medical centers, hints at something more intentional than what was there before. Whether it works at real scale is still an open question. But the fact that people are actively trying, right now, in 2026, and the fact that some retailers are thriving specifically because they offer real value and real community says something. There's a real recognition of what was lost here, and that it was worth something in the first place. A mall doesn't die the day the closing sign goes up. It dies quietly, years before that, on the day people stopped feeling like they needed to go anywhere at all. The building closing is just the paperwork catching up to something that already happened. What's one memory that came up for you while watching this? Drop it in the comments. I read every single one.